Is Song Weilong quietly rewriting his own image right in front of us, not through headlines, declarations, or carefully timed statements, but through something far more unsettlingly simple and natural? Instinctive hug that felt too sincere to be manufactured in an industry built on control? In an era where audiences are trained to decode performance, separate character from person, and approach every celebrity moment with skepticism, there are rare instances when that filter drops. When viewers stop asking whether something is staged and instead ask why it feels so real, and that is exactly what happened when public attention lingered just a little longer on the interactions between Song Weilong and Zhao Jinmai. Because what unfolded was not a scandal, not a romance reveal, and not a publicity stunt, but a quiet disruption of expectations that sparked conversations far beyond fan excitement, reaching into deeper questions about authenticity, warmth, and what modern audiences truly crave from the people they admire. To understand why this moment resonated so powerfully, we must first consider the environment that shaped it, an entertainment industry that for years has promoted a narrowly defined idol image, flawless, distant, emotionally restrained, and carefully curated, where male stars are expected to embody cool detachment and female stars are encouraged to project gentle agreeableness, not by accident, but through years of marketing logic, audience conditioning, and unspoken rules governing public behavior. Yet as viewers become more media literate and emotionally aware, this polished distance increasingly feels less aspirational and more artificial, because while beauty and talent still matter, sincerity has become the missing ingredient that people long to see, especially in a time when audiences are exhausted by overexposure, scripted vulnerability, and intimacy that feels calculated rather than lived. Song Weilong emerged within this traditional framework, tall, reserved, visually striking, often described as cold or aloof, his silence interpreted as depth and his calm mistaken for mystery, a persona that became a brand in itself, allowing fans to admire him from afar while projecting meaning onto his minimal expressions, and for years. This image worked precisely because it left space for fantasy, yet that same restraint created a gap between the ideal and the human, a gap that slowly widened as audiences began to crave connection rather than projection. And that gap explains why later moments of warmth felt revelatory rather than routine, because when someone long associated with emotional distance suddenly shows care without explanation, it lands with unexpected force, like a crack in a carefully polished surface that reveals something alive underneath. Zhao Jinmai's trajectory, though different, is just as essential to this story. Having grown up under the camera's gaze from a young age, she cultivated professionalism and emotional sensitivity early on, with audiences watching her mature not only as an actress, but as a person navigating relentless scrutiny, high expectations, and the pressure to remain both relatable and composed. And what sets her apart in an industry filled with performance is her naturalness, a quality that resists exaggeration and defies overstatement, visible in small smiles that linger just a second longer than expected, quiet confidence that does not ask for validation, and unforced reactions that feel lived in rather than rehearsed. So when these two energies met, his restraint and her authenticity, the contrast itself became a compelling narrative, one that audiences could sense even before they could articulate it, initially drawing viewers to their on-screen chemistry, where emotional tension and understated intimacy suggested understanding without excessive dialogue, a connection that felt grounded rather than heightened, intimate rather than dramatic, difficult to fake and easy to feel. And audiences noticed because they are more perceptive than the industry often assumes. Yet what truly ignited widespread discussion was the continuation of that dynamic beyond scripted scenes, because during public appearances and unscripted interactions, their closeness remained gentle and intuitive, free from exaggeration or overt fan service, marked instead by subtle gestures of instinctive care, standing closer without calculation, angling the body protectively in crowded spaces, adjusting posture to include the other in conversation, responding immediately to unspoken cues, moments that felt unplanned and therefore meaningful, moments that resisted the usual visual language of promotional intimacy, culminating in a brief but unforgettable instance. When Song Weilong naturally drew Zhao Jinmai into a protective embrace, a moment devoid of dramatic framing, slow motion, or theatrical buildup, yet powerful precisely because it did not demand attention, because it did not announce itself as a moment meant to be seen, prompting viewers to replay the clip repeatedly, dissect body language frame by frame, and ask why it felt different, why it carried emotional weight without spectacle. And the answer many arrived at was that it suggested reassurance rather than display, care rather than performance, presence rather than possession, and for many viewers this was the first time they felt they were witnessing an unguarded side of a star long associated with emotional reserve. A side that did not contradict his previous image but completed it, challenging outdated assumptions about what makes a male idol appealing and demonstrating that warmth does not diminish appeal, but expands it, transforming Song Weilong from a distant symbol into a relatable human being whose actions conveyed emotional intelligence, attentiveness, and quiet confidence, qualities increasingly valued in a society that is re-examining traditional masculinity, where strength is no longer defined solely by stoicism or emotional opacity, but by the ability to offer comfort, protection, and presence without spectacle. Equally important was Zhao Jinmai's response, which carried no surprise, no exaggeration, and no performative hesitation, only ease and trust, reinforcing the sense of mutual respect and shared understanding, portraying her not as a passive recipient of attention, but as an active participant in a shared emotional space. A detail that resonated deeply with younger audiences seeking representations of warmth that coexist with independence, agency, and self-assurance, because her comfort did not read as dependence, but as choice. And that distinction matters in how modern audiences interpret intimacy, while many fans naturally expressed excitement, affection, and emotional investment. The broader reaction moved beyond shipping culture into reflection, with discussions emerging about why such moments feel rare, why authenticity has become something people feel compelled to protect and preserve, revealing a collective longing for emotional honesty over perfection, for humanity over fantasy, for moments that feel lived rather than manufactured, a shift amplified by social platforms where short clips, screenshots, slow motion analyses, and thoughtful commentary circulated rapidly, allowing fans not just to consume but to interpret collectively, and importantly, this engagement was not purely sensational, as many posts explored themes of emotional safety, respect, and personal growth, using the interaction between the two actors as a lens through which to examine broader expectations of relationships and public figures, turning a fleeting celebrity moment into a cultural conversation about how people want to see care expressed in public spaces. In doing so, this moment quietly redefined relevance itself, because while entertainment culture has long measured impact through visibility, volume, and hype, the sustained interest in Song Weilong and Zhao Jinmai suggests a different metric entirely: emotional resonance, where depth outweighs frequency and meaning matters more than saturation, where a single unguarded gesture can linger longer in the public imagination than weeks of orchestrated promotion, aligning with a growing desire for substance over spectacle, connection over noise, and presence over performance, reminding us that the most powerful narratives are often the quietest ones, the ones that unfold without intention yet leave the deepest imprint. And perhaps that is why this story continues to circulate, not as a rumor to be confirmed or denied, but as a feeling to be revisited, because it touches something universal about how people want to be seen, cared for, and understood. And if you have stayed with us until the end of this extended deep dive, thank you for sharing this moment of reflection with us. If you enjoyed this perspective and want more thoughtful explorations of entertainment culture and the stories behind the headlines, don't forget to subscribe to our channel 24H News, TM. Your support helps us continue bringing meaningful, human-centered content to you every day, and we would truly love to hear your thoughts. So leave a comment below and tell us what authenticity in entertainment truly means to you and whether moments like this change the way you see the people behind the spotlight.